screaming heavy metal! We rock!
But the evil that men do lives on.
We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, a hard-hitting show featuring all things hard rock and heavy metal. And now here are your hosts, the Twins of Chaos, Clint Switzer and Paul Lagana.
Welcome to the Music Mania podcast. Clint Switzer and Paul Lagana. Paul, big guest today. We've been publicizing it. We are going to be speaking with Wildside guitarist Brent Woods, and of course everyone knows Brent Woods. I also worked with Vince Neil, Janie Lane. He's the current guitarist for Sebastian Bach. He's just kind of done it all, and we are going to be speaking with Brent Woods here coming up about one of my favorite albums from the I almost said 80s because it's such an 80s sounding album, but it's 92's Wildside, Under the Influence, Hang On Lucy. Great album. Can't wait to get into it.
Incredible for me. And I want to hear about how actually that all came about, because I read somewhere where he actually recorded that album. The band actually recorded that album with Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, at the 5150
right.
Studios. That's correct. They were the first outsider to record there other than Van Halen. So that's crazy.
Right.
Going to ask about that.
I guarantee he's going to have some stories about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brent Woods is a guy that's been there. He's been around. I mean, he's done, I think he did somewhere 8, 9, 10 years with Vince Neil, worked with him on his Carved in Stone album, Janie Lane before he passed away. And of course, he's been on tour with Sebastian Bach for the last, I think, couple years. And he's just kind of done it all. And he's worked, he's just one of those guitar players that he's just so reliable. He's respectable. So he keeps getting jobs, man. People want him in their band. He does a great job. He's got a great look. Can't wait to ask about Wildside because they have a show coming up in September 3rd in Boulder, Colorado. They will be appearing with Lynch Mob.
That's right.
So going to see Wildside live again this summer. That's great that they're having a show. Hopefully more to come from them because like we always say, the grunge era really unfortunately kind of erased Wildside because they came out so late in the game.
The grunge invasion, if you will. But no, yeah. Also, I want to know about when they first formed, they were playing the Hollywood clubs. That's where actually they're from, is Hollywood. So I want to hear about what it was like. Because
they were young guns back then, yeah.
Right. But they switched over to Wildside. But, I'm sure he's got some stories about the Hollywood club scene as well.
Well, guys, thanks so much for listening. We're going to go ahead and bring on our guest at this time on the Music Mania podcast. It is our pleasure to welcome guitarist extraordinaire Brent Woods. Brent, welcome to the show, man. How's everything going?
How you doing?
Doing great, man. I know things are busy for you. Things all, as always, as a musician, but we got to talk about this because September 3rd, man, Wildside reunion is on. You guys are going to be in Boulder, Colorado with Lynch Mob. Just tell us how this show kind of came about and, how much forward are you looking to this show?
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. We played, probably in, I think it was like 7 years ago, we did a show at the Roxy, and it was a lot of fun. And, it's fun to get together with those guys and play that stuff. Those guys are my friends, and it's just fun to get together and do this. So I think it came about because the promoter had contacted Drew that puts that Wolf Fest on every year, and just asked if we were interested in doing it, and then Drew called me, and I said, yeah, let's do it. If I didn't know what the schedule was for me during the summertime with Sebastian, but I said if it's available, let's do it. We'll have fun. So that's how it just came about. So now we're just we've done a couple rehearsals, and everything sounded really good.
Yeah, Wildside, just one of those bands that, Under the Influence, probably it's such a classic, and I want to get into that because, Wildside, you guys, I always felt like Wildside as a band, because that album came out in 1992, kind of in the middle of the grunge invasion, that album, it's so good, it's a classic, but it maybe just came out a couple years too late. Do you have any regrets about how that album coming out at that time and sort of getting lost in the mix with all those bands, whereas Wildside could have been a viable band for years off of that album? It was so good.
It's just the business, right? You get an opportunity. I was fortunate enough to be able to get a record deal when record deals mattered, and I was able to, work with Andy Johns and Jim Valance, a great writer that wrote a lot of Bryan Adams stuff, and Paul Stanley, and recording up at Eddie Van Halen's house. I got a lot of great experiences out of it, and learned a lot to me, it was almost like college. You know, it was like I was getting paid to learn the business and to learn how to produce. You know, with Andy Johns and to record. And so, no, I don't regret anything. I mean, yeah, would I been very happy if it was successful? Of course, you know what I mean. But you can't control timing, man. You know what I mean. You do what you do and you have fun. You gotta enjoy the journey while you're doing it, and that's the most important thing. You know, if you let things that are negative, the roller coaster ride's crazy, and you know you can't let the downers affect you too much, or you know you're just not going to move on. So
right.
yeah, I mean it was timing. Grunge came in. We got signed in 1990. You know, we picked Andy Johns to be our producer. He was working on the Van Halen record at the time, and his schedule fluctuated back and forth with us, between us and them, and then once the record was done, we had to get it mixed, and we took it up to Canada to get it mixed, and the tapes got confiscated, and I mean it's a long story, and they held them in customs there for about, I don't know, I think it was like 2 months or something, 3 months, and that held it back, and then it pushed back our release date again, and you know there's just things that happen, and but you can't control it, you know what I mean, it just happened. So you got to move on, but I'm proud of the record, and I still love playing the songs today. But like I said, we just rehearsed last night, and some of the stuff I'm trying to remember some of it, you know, because it's been so long. And I play differently now. You know, I'm not the same player like what I played back then. I never put down the guitar since Wildside, but I've always kind of just listened to different music and evolved into a kind of a different player. I mean, some of the stuff I play the same, but some of the solos I'm changing and kind of making them different and new and fresh and kind of the style that I'm playing now. So it's a lot of fun too to kind of reinvent.
Well, Brent, tell us about when you actually recorded that album, because I was reading somewhere where you actually recorded at 5150 Eddie Van Halen's home. Just tell us a little bit about what that was like recording, and did he have any influence at all on that album?
Yeah, I mean, we started the record at A&M Recording Studios. That's where we started the basic tracks like drums and bass, and then Andy had to go finish the Van Halen record. So when he came back, we started guitars, and we were at A&M, and Andy wasn't happy with the guitar sound. I'm just not feeling it. I think Andy just wanted to go up to Eddie's house, so it was kind of an excuse to go up there and hang. And he liked the vibe up there, and he just got finished working there, so obviously he just felt comfortable with it. And so he called Eddie, and Eddie, he said, "Yeah, come on up, let's do it." So he didn't really have any involvement, but the first day I was recording there, Eddie was in the control room, sitting about 5 feet away from me in the chair, because he just wanted to come up there and hang with us. It was nice because it was Eddie Van Halen, but also, it's my first time recording my first record in the studio with Andy Johns, and then Eddie Van Halen's looking at you, watching you playing your guitar parts for the first time. It's a little intimidating, if anybody's sitting there watching you record your stuff. And so I pulled Andy aside outside, and I said, "Man," I go, "it's really hard for me to play, with Eddie sitting right next to me, my hero, watching me record." But he goes, "Well, let me tell Ed, man. I'll tell him to get lost." And I'm like, "No, don't say that. Don't do that. I don't want that to happen." I said, "I'm just telling you, it's hard, So we went back in there, and then eventually, after time, because he would come up there every day, I just kind of got used to him being there, and he was so cool. He helped me out with. I used a lot of his guitars. I used a lot of his amps. I used the Explorer, the Shark. I used that one on a couple songs, and a lot of he's got his Ernie Ball guitars in at that time, so I used a couple of his new Ernie Balls that he had guitars, and some of his 5150 amps, the early ones, the actual Soldano ones.
Did you get a pair of the sneakers though? That's the important thing. Did you get a pair of the Eddie Van Halen striped Chuck Taylors? That's the real question.
Did he even have those back then?
I don't know. That's true. Those probably weren't commercialized till a little later, I guess. Than the 90s, right?
Yeah, this was 91. So no, I don't think he had those then. But no, I mean, it's crazy. I don't have a lot of photos. We had a guy that took a lot of video of us up there, and I know that's somewhere. But back then nobody had camera phones or anything like that. So actually taking a picture with somebody, you had to make an effort. You know what I mean? And it was something where you had to. It was almost like an interruption. Hey, can I get a picture? It was just weird to do that. Back then. So I don't even have any pictures with him, which kind of sucks, but whatever. I got the memories in my head and the experience, and I can't forget that stuff.
Well, Brent, you've done so much, over the years. You've worked with so many great musicians. You talked about touring with Sebastian Bach, and that tour just kind of ended, I think, in June. I think probably you guys are going to head back out probably pretty soon. In fact, we kept missing you because while you guys were in Kansas City about a month ago, we were at Rocklahoma covering the Scorpions show that night. And then by the time you guys got to Rocklahoma, we were gone during the Foreigner show in Joplin, Missouri. So we've missed Sebastian Bach on this tour. We got to catch up. So, what's it like? Working with Sebastian, he's had such an array of great guitar players playing with him. But, you're just such a reliable guy, someone that always comes in, knows all these songs, are just so respected in the business. Just what's it like touring with Sebastian? He's quite a character. Everybody knows that. But, man, what a front man and what a voice.
Yeah, I've known Sebastian a long time, and he called me up, it was 4 years ago, and he was playing L.A., and I was actually working in the studio. He goes, hey, man, what are you doing tonight? And I go, I'm working. He goes, well, can you come down to the show? I said, I can try. He goes, no, I need you to come down and play. And I guess he had lost his guitar player that day, and I don't know, it was like noon, so he asked me to come down and play, and I'm like, I got to learn these songs in 7-8 hours. So I did the best I could, and I went down and played. Then he asked me to go out with him for a few weeks, and I did like 3 weeks with him, and that was it. And then I didn't play with him again until, when was it, 2014, I think it was. And it's been fun. I love playing some of that stuff. That they had. Slave of the Grind record. There's some great stuff on that record. Dark and Room, it's a great song. They had some good music, and I think a lot of it's like underrated and kind of put in that bucket of hair band. But which, I'm not knocking any of the hair band stuff. I'm just saying, like, there's a little bit more to them. You know what I mean? And not just with Sebastian, but the whole band, the songs, the vibe, and everything like that. I just thought they had a cool style, and not much cheese, which was good about that band. And yeah, of course, Sebastian's great, amazing frontman, probably one of the top 5 like rock frontman of all time to me. He's just so energetic and real, and there's no posing, it's not contrived, it's honest, and that's what you get, And then off stage, I get along with him great. We share a lot of the same interests. We'll go vinyl shopping out on the road, and because we love vinyl and vintage stuff, first pressing. So we do that a lot, and so it's a good hang. It's a good hang out there.
No doubt about it. And speaking of top 5 musicians, vocalists, actually, you actually worked with Vince Neil too. Right after was it 94, I believe, when his solo project came out. What was it like working with him?
Yeah, we did that was kind of a weird thing too, because I didn't really, it wasn't like an audition thing. I started writing with those guys in the studio. I just asked Robbie Crane asked me to come down and work with them, and I just started writing with them at NRG recording studios. And the Dust Brothers, I don't know if you guys are familiar with those guys, but they did a lot of they did Beastie Boys and back, they did a lot of alternative stuff back then in the 90s. But Warner Brothers hitched them up with Vince to try and do kind of a different record, that Carved in Stone record. So I just started writing with him in the studio, and then eventually played on the record. And then Vince asked me to join the band, and that's how it just kind of came about. But yeah, I was off and on for a little under 10 years. I played with him, and yeah, it was great. It was fun. It was great because it was right after the whole Wildside thing kind of closed out, and it was nice getting into like a plush bus and having your own hotel room and getting a good paycheck every week, you know what I mean? And actually having like a good writer and food and stuff on the road. So it was like a nice transition from Wildside into that. I'm not saying musically, I'm just saying the amenities were nicer, you know what I mean? And it was, it was a little more comfortable. So, yeah, I was fortunate enough to get that. It was fun.
Do you think, because you talked about the Dust Brothers, and Carved in Stone was kind of an experimental sound, a lot of, it was Pro Tools, basically, which was brand new at the time, but do you feel like Carved in Stone was kind of a precursor to what would become, Motley Crue's Generation Swine?
Yeah, it's funny because it was like way ahead of its time, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? It was weird the way it was put together, but it was a lot of those loops and then real drums and real guitars and stuff like that. But Yeah, I actually remember Tommy Lee saying, because we were somewhere, I can't remember, and he said something about the record, like, yeah, it's just too weird. And then 5 years later or whatever, even less than that, 2-3 years later, that's all Tommy's doing. You know what I mean? So it was kind of funny that would happen, but I just think it was so far ahead of its time. Nobody was doing it, right? I mean, Kid Rock wasn't out. Nobody was really doing that. Mixing it up with loops and stuff like that. So I don't know if it was the reason why. I just think things were going in that direction. So it just kind of happened.
And Tommy hasn't looked back since. But it's funny because I've got kind of a Brent Woods story here that's kind of funny. You talked about touring with Vince Neil for about 10 years. I think this was about 02 or 03. You guys played the Missouri State Fair with, I think, Vixen, Rat, maybe Slaughter. And I remember I had to coax my buddy to go with me because I told him it was Motley Crue. I was like, it's a Vince Neil solo, but he's kind of gullible. It's Motley Crue. Come with me. And it's funny because Vince comes out. It was a killer set, and we were pretty close to the stage. And but my buddy taps me, and he's like, you see you come out, and you're tank top, and you're kind of a buff guy. Let's be honest. And sunglasses. He goes, "That's not Mick Mars, is it?" And I was like, "Okay, you got me. That's not Mick Mars. That's Brent Woods. Okay, no problem."
That's funny.
I think Brent Fitz was in the band at the time. You guys had a
sweetheart.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys had a killer band, man. I mean, I think we had Brent Fitz might have been on drums at that point, and I mean, you guys just always had.
It was 2002. Yeah, it was Brent Fitz, and then James Hunting on bass, who now plays with Roger Daltrey. Great bass player. The guy would play a 12-string bass with his fingers. He was a monster.
I mean,
and still is.
Of all these projects, Brent, I mean, you've just done so many things. Now, I know you worked with Janie Lane, before he passed away. Just what would you say of all the things you've done kind of is the most gratifying personally for you, if you had to handicap it?
Oh, God. I mean, they've all been a great experience. I mean, I just did this thing in Russia with Derek Sherinian, Doug Aldridge, Tony Franklin, and Greg Bissonette. And, that to me, that was and that just happened, that was an amazing band. And playing with those guys, I learned a lot. And I just think, everything that I've done, I enjoy it all. I know that sounds politically correct and all, but it's true. There's always different experiences. I mean, there's some personalities that kind of intertwine, and maybe they might be the same, and singers and stuff like that. But as far as music and experience, man, it's just always different. Even from tour to tour, you always experience something different, or learn something new, or do something different musically. It's just. It's just a great journey, man. That's why I always tell everybody, man, you gotta enjoy the ride, regardless if it's highs or lows or in betweens, man. You have to just dig the whole thing, and just roll with it, or eat yourself up. It's all been good.
Absolutely, and that's how you wind up staying around the business for so long. And I ask a lot of musicians this that we have on the show, and it's kind of a cliched question, but I'm always interested in people's personal stories and their journeys, especially guitar players, because I find guitar playing to be so unique to the music business. But I mean, is there a moment that you can recall, kind of growing up? That you just kind of said, that's it, that's what I want to do, a moment you saw, a band you saw, a concert you saw, something that kind of just registered to you, I'm going to do this is what I want to do?
Well, yeah, me and 99% of everybody else my age, I saw Kiss for the first time.
Good answer.
I started playing drums first, and I went to piano, and then I saw Kiss, and I saw Ace, and I was like, I want a guitar, and that was it, and I stuck with it, And, the first album I got was Kiss Alive, and which was kind of cool because a few years back I mixed Kiss's live DVD, the last performance they did at Cobo Hall before they tore down Cobo Hall, and that was kind of like a return. Not that I played with them, but it was cool that my first record that got me into really being in the music industry was Kiss Alive, and then being able to mix Kiss's last performance at Cobo Hall was kind of cool. But yeah, they were the band. That's the band that me and everybody else in my generation pretty much got into. Aerosmith, Zeppelin, and all that stuff followed, and obviously Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads and all those guys. But that's just that's the band that definitely put the guitar over my shoulder for sure.
Well, when you grow up and you see these things, and everybody has that moment. I mean, heck, Paul and I had that moment. The problem is we have no musical talent, and we're here talking to you. So, over the years, you're such a big fan. I mean, you're a musician. You're out there. You're playing with guys like Vince Neil, Sebastian Bach. Your paths ever crossed with Gene and Paul or those guys? And you're just, has it ever happened for you? Have you ever met those guys?
Me who, Kiss?
Gene and Paul, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote with Paul on the Wildside record. You know, we wrote a song called Clock Strikes on that record. And I've been working off and on with Gene for the last, few years, 3-4 years in the studio, doing some demo stuff for the last Kiss record and some other projects. We did a project for this Japanese group. And like I said, I mixed the Kiss, the live DVD at Cobo Hall, did that. So yeah, I mean, I've worked with those guys a lot. I did all the guitar work on Detroit Rock City, the film, and worked with the kids up in Toronto, the filming of it. Teaching them how to play their guitar, look like they're playing guitar live, and that type of stuff. So again, Gene was up there a lot in Toronto, and Kiss actually did the footage up there for that movie up there. So
hey,
yeah, I mean, I see those guys a lot.
You made Edward Furlong look like he could play guitar. That's not bad. I mean,
yeah, exactly. One of the guys kind of like played a bass, or like he kind of knew it, but the other guys didn't really know that. But yeah, they did a good job. I had fun doing that movie. It was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time up in Toronto. It was a great town, and yeah, it was fun doing some music, playing the guitar and that stuff, and write some songs for it. It was fun.
Awesome. Brent, I know we kept you a little bit longer than we thought, but we appreciate your time, buddy. I got one more question for you here. Going back to actually when Wildside first started, you guys were playing the clubs in Hollywood. What was that like for you back then? Because you're pretty much about my age, and I actually lived out there, and I had heard of you guys back then, but I never really got a chance to see you. So just tell me about the experience playing Hollywood clubs before you actually got into Under the Influence.
Well, I was going to those clubs, way before I even started playing them. When I was taking lessons from Randy Rhoads, he's the first guy that got me into going to the Whiskey and the Starwood and those clubs, because I didn't even know about them. I'm 12, 13 years old, and taking lessons from him. He's like, hey, come see my band play, Quiet Riot, and he would give me tickets, discount tickets, whatever, to the Starwood, to come see him play. So my mom would drive me down to the Starwood, my buddy, this guy Kurt Vitola, that also took lessons from Randy, who was my age, and or we would take the bus down there, whatever, and we would go see Quiet Riot play, and in turn we'd see bands that are opening up, like a band called Smile, A La Carte, Snow, all these different bands. And so we kind of got into going to the clubs at a young age. I remember hanging out in front of the Rainbow in 1979 and seeing Punky Meadows walk out. That was like my first experience there, But yeah, so I got to go to those clubs and see a lot of those bands. I saw Rat, I saw Motley's first show, I saw London play, I saw Rock Candy play, and all those guys before they were even doing anything on as far as worldwide goes. So those clubs were always, it was just a no-brainer. That's what you do. You write songs. It wasn't about covers back then. It wasn't about top 40. It was about, you write your own material, you put a band together, practice in the garage, and then you go play a club. So, but I think you're talking more about like 1987, 88, 89, that era, when the scene really got crazy out there. I mean, to me, it was just kind of a gradual thing, because I was born there, I was raised, I should say here, because I'm here right now. But it was just kind of a gradual thing, and it just built up and got bigger and bigger and bigger, after the Motleys and after Quiet Riot and after Poison and, Guns N' Roses and all that stuff. The scene just completely took off, and once something is big and people see success and you can make it there, then everybody gravitates towards that area. And, the flyers every night, and then they outlawed flyers. And I remember me and Drew, we made these picket signs with Young Guns on it, because the name of the band was Young Guns before Wildside, and we would walk up and down the street with Young Guns performing at Gazzari's or something, because you couldn't hand out flyers. They outlawed it because it got to be such a mess down on Sunset Boulevard with all the paper everywhere. So they banned it for a while. But yeah, I mean, that was it. Hey, we were fortunate we got a deal towards the end, right? I mean, the cutoff point was pretty much at the end of 1990 to even get a record deal in L.A. After that, it was over. So, we were lucky enough to even squeak in and get a deal, a major deal at that time. So, but it was all fun. Had a great time. A lot of things that, I don't really want to share, but It was a lot of fun, you know. It was a lot. I mean, you could walk in any club and hear great music playing, you know, most of the time, and it was just the electricity was just through the roof, you know. It was awesome.
You could go from club to club, you know, Whiskey, Troubadour, and Rainbow. It was great.
And Gazzari's.
And Gazzari's, yes.
And see transvestite fights, you know, prostitutes. Man, it is just a new world out there, isn't it? Damn it.
Yeah, and even the Central across the street, you know, they had something going on there, which is now the Viper Room. But that was, there was always something going on the Strip, but that was the main deal, you know. Well, now it's not like that anymore. And even when House of Blues, you know, was built at one time, and now it's gone. Still sitting there, but
still rocking. You know, luckily, they're still there. There's still no In-N-Out Burger in West Hollywood, which blows my mind. And that's nothing to do after you go to the clubs. You have nowhere to go get some fast food. That still bums me out. As someone that just
In-N-Out Burger.
There's one in West. There's not there. It's like a mile. It's like 2 miles away from the whiskey, man.
Well, it's in Hollywood. It's right at La Brea, right there at La Brea.
So it's a bit of a jaunt, though, from the whiskey. If you're trying to walk down there, like what do you do? Go to one of those gas stations, I guess, across the street.
You just go to the Rainbow and eat. That's the best thing to do.
That's a good point, man. Well, I tell you what, Brent, it's just been such a pleasure, man, talking to you, sharing stories. And I promise next time we come see you, I will not try to pass you off as Mick Mars. That is a promise. I will never do that again.
No, it's all good. Hey, man, I wish I was Mick Mars. He's a beautiful human being, man. He's awesome.
Oh, I love Mick. Absolutely. Huge Crew fan. So, you know, I was actually at their last show in L.A. That was the last time I was there. I was at the Staples Center in L.A., the last Motley Crue show. And, Brent, I tell you what, it's just been such a pleasure. You've done so many things. Anytime you need something to promote, anytime you got anything coming out, man, hit us up. You got each other's numbers, and we'd be glad to have you on and promote anything you want, my man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
There's a Wildside Facebook page out there that people are going to, and promoters and fans and stuff. We have nothing to do with that. The band has nothing to do with that. And there's a lot of followers on there that are asking questions, and we can't answer it. We're blocked from it. So don't go to that site. That's all I can say.
Good. We were just looking at that right before we pulled you on here, so I'm glad to know that because I was kind of confused as to some of the posts and things. But your personal Twitter is at Brent Woods Music, and you can find you on Facebook as well at Brent Woods.
Yeah, Facebook, Brent Woods Music, and you know, just Brent Woods personal page. That's usually where I go anyways, but that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Brent, absolutely, man. Thank you so much. We'll catch up soon, and have a great rest of the summer. And man, can't wait for that Wildside show in Colorado. We'll definitely be cheering for you guys because we're huge fans of that band. So good luck, my man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brent. Clint Brent Woods, what a guy, buddy.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad he told us because I've always used the Wildside Facebook page, taking that as gospel, taking that as the band's official page. Apparently, former member is using that page to slander the band, and do not take that is not the Wildside official page. That is kind of a page. As we were talking to Brent, kind of off the air, after we stopped recording, he called us back and wanted to talk about how that page has been taken hostage by a former member, and I don't really understand because the Facebook page is promoting some of the show coming up, but yet he said they've also had to try to get the page taken down, get some of the posts taken down. There's some slanderous things being said. How in the world is that going on? Like, get that page down.
Well, the problem is first of all, he doesn't have a Wikipedia page himself. He does have a Facebook page himself, but the former band member going on and there is no way in the world that he's probably missing promoting opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, because they don't have an official site. You know, you try to get a hold of them through their Facebook. That's all you have. And I mean, I could have easily sent a message to that Facebook trying to get the interview with Brent, but I have his personal Facebook that I was able to get a hold of him through. So I'm just, he was very understated about that during the interview, and I feel horrible for the band because I mean they're missing out on opportunities. Brent's a great guy, and he didn't want to, he wasn't trying to trash anyone, but you need to get this page taken down is what you need to do somehow. And I hope it happens because they need to have their own page and their own, controlled, social media so they can get shows booked.
And I think they will, especially after this. I mean, this page here obviously is not the official band page. So
absolutely.
Do not go to it.
Do not go to it. Do not like anything. Do not comment. Guys, but what you can do, like and comment, is on our page, Music Mania Podcast. We appreciate all the feedback. Thanks for downloading on iTunes, listening on YouTube, however you did it. We can't thank you enough for checking us out, man. And the guests are going to keep coming. We got the summer rolling. We cannot thank you guys enough. Guys, have a wonderful time this week.
Go see a show, man. We're in the middle of July now. Shows are all over the place. So get out and support these guys because we do, and we love them.
Have a good one.